Hello, welcome to the Food and Cosplay podcast where Eddie talks. Yes, that's right, that Eddie. But I just want to inform you that we're about to listen to some views and comments from the hosts and guests that may not reflect everybody's opinions. So keep it nice, all right? We want a nice open conversation. And at this point, usually Eddie plays that banter section, but remember, you can always listen to other podcasts. But because you're here, you're going to have to listen to the banter.
So, Lydia, I hear you want to get some shoes.
Yay! No, I see you hit record. You don't me.
Live to our game now.
I'm smart. I'm too slick. You won't catch me.
You're smart. Are you? Anyway, Sibs, did you want to jump to another podcast? Help me co-host.
You trying to poach me again in another episode of a different podcast?
We've got my podcast. At least you'd be respected. We'll share the workout. You know. Also, where's my picture on the thumbnail? Where's my face over Lydia's face?
Yeah, I didn't do that.
Rude. It's rude, is what that is.
Absolutely rude. Absolutely rude.
I'm sorry, I had to do everything else.
I give up 4 hours of my time to record your epoxy podcast.
Poxy?
And I gave up 6 to edit it. Come on.
I did nothing. I went to Brighton.
You did. It's true.
Oh, wow. There's no resentment in that.
I'm the worst, and it's fine. Because it's fine.
Sib, all I'm going to say is it's always open for you to jump ship onto a proper podcast. I'm just saying, you know.
Wow, the word proper just wedged in there.
Hello, everybody. This is It Talks About Podcast, our weekly podcast. Stop laughing! Oh, God, Jesus, where was I? Anyway, hello, everybody. Sorry for that interruption from Lydia. This is already this is chaos already. We've been chatting for about half an hour about shoes. Size 4 shoes, which someone has to size 4.5 foot, and they're still going, oh, do I get these or not? It's like the shoe is half a size shorter than you, smaller than you. Of course you don't get them.
But sometimes a 4 does fit me.
Oh my. Anyway, where was I? Right, that's it. Hello, everybody. This is the. Oh God, I can't. Now I've lost my rhythm. Anyway, hello, everybody. This is It Talks About Podcast. It's a weekly podcast about cosplay, Comic Con, and everything else. Today we're talking about Ctrl Alt. It Talks About Podcast. No, we're talking about the podcast that Sib and Lydia have created many weeks ago called Ctrl Alt Cos. Oh my God, Lydia's quiet. This is actually quite This is actually weird. And
I gave her stats to look at.
Yeah, I'm literally looking at stats.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, joining us on the podcast, obviously from the Ctrl Alt Cos podcast, is Siobhan from Shield Photography and Lydia from Celery Moon Design. Why did I say cosplay? Celery Moon Design. Welcome to you both.
Hello.
Hello.
That was probably the longest intro I've ever created for myself.
You're welcome.
No, I'm not welcome. Jesus Christ. Have you both been on my podcast together?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Why do I do this to myself? I've literally had, right, so the way that I planned this is coming out the week after I've reviewed the VeeCon podcast. So right now, to the recording of this podcast, I flew into the country. So I've already repeated this already. So I've already probably said this in the VeeCon podcast, but I flew back into this country on the Tuesday because I was trapped in Europe on the Monday. That was fun.
Yeah, I saw. It looked awful. How was VeeCon this year?
I loved it. 4th year going, I loved it. Absolutely. Listen to the podcast when it comes out last week.
Wait, what?
No. When this podcast goes out, it would have been last week. But I haven't recorded that one yet. That's coming. Okay. In podcast land, you sometimes record things out of order.
Eddie, we've recorded 3 podcasts this week. We have to record, so don't talk to me about recording in advance. All right?
And where's my invite for any of those?
Huh?
Where's
You've
my
done your episode.
You're
You're not coming back until like
episode.
150, or was it?
Yeah, we said 105. You're back.
That's
No,
it.
and this is I was going to bring you back on the 300th episode. Oh
Yeah.
wait, this is episode 160. So I need to kick you guys off. Sorry. Hey, bye guys.
It's been great. Bye. Listen to our podcast. On
No!
Spotify. Bye. How funny would it be if I had left then?
I'd be very annoyed right now. So anyway, where was I? Anyway, let's do a 7-day checkup. That's what I usually do. So let's do it alphabetically. Lydia, how are you? How's the last 7 days for you? Ignoring the 3 podcasts that you're stressing, recording, and well, I would say editing, but I'll skip that question.
Hey.
Hey.
My week has been great. I went to Brighton for the weekend, which was wonderful. Although I did miss Sib. It was very weird not being a full squad. And then I've just been in crazy Japan mode, trying to crunch everything I need to crunch before Japan. I'm actually sewing right now.
Hang on. I swear, every podcast I've had you on, the word Japan appears. Is this like the 9th time you're going to Japan this year?
It's the 2nd time I'm going this year, but I'm going for a month, and so it's taking a lot
Hang on,
more.
you said that last time. Is this the same thing?
Yeah.
So you're going 2 weeks for work and 2 weeks for yourself?
Yes.
Oh, okay, it's the same thing. See, I do listen.
Yes. Yeah, so I've done a bunch of admin, but like it's the week before I go now, and so I'm having to do lots of like. Oh wait, when does this come out? Because I just realised this is all confidential. I can't say any of this. I mean, nothing is happening. Cut all of that, please, Eddie, because I will get fired.
So hang on. So we've just bleeped all of that. So I might have to. So basic's going to go. How's the 7 days for you?
Yeah,
And it goes,
yeah, you're gonna have to ask me that again because I will get fired. I will get big time fired.
I'm going to cut that and just leave the bit of going. Oh my god, no! That's all I'm going to keep.
Okay, good, because friendly A's, anyone?
Moving swiftly along, Sib. Hope there's nothing confidential you can talk about. You're going to accidentally talk about. How's the last 7 days for you?
Yeah, good. I've been playing Baldur's Gate.
What is this Baldur's Gate?
Baldur's Gate's a new sort of D&D based video game that's come out.
Oh, that's why I don't understand nor care about it. Oh, okay.
And everyone is thirsty.
Yeah,
What?
Astarion. Oh, we love him. The vampire
Everyone
man.
is thirsty for everyone. The lizard lady, the vampire man,
The wizard.
the wizard.
Who is thirsty even if you reject him. It's very confusing.
Oh, I know. Is that Gale?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard someone compare him to somebody we know, and I was like, okay.
Oh!
Anyway, I'm going to quickly rein in this
Oh.
podcast before it just goes. I can feel it. I'm losing it. I'm bringing it back.
Well done. Yes, Eddie. Good. That's good.
Yeah, other than
Stop
that,
telling me how to run my podcast.
Then run it.
Backseating podcasting. Oh God. Anyway, you've got control. You've got this.
Little post-it note on this screen going, "You've got this, Eddie."
Got this. Come on.
it says do it for them.
Yeah, but it's just a picture of Eddie.
She's just a small little girl. You're taller than her. Shh. Come on, you can do this. Anyway, sorry, I was just like internalizing.
You're taller than me.
I think so.
Oh, okay, that's fine. That means I'm closer to hell. So.
Anyway, what we're doing, right? So, I thought it'd be a good idea, and this is, I don't know what I was thinking at the time, that I'd invite these two bloody fucking renegade guests, podcasters, onto my podcast as they invited me onto their podcast. So I thought like I'd at least have a right to reply and bring them on, and then we'll talk about their podcast. And see. You're right there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I heard some clunk, and I thought that was you.
it was me, but I'm fine.
You know, this is recorded, right? You've got to sit still. You've got to, like, behave yourself.
That was such a dirty laugh.
Fucking hell. Generally, we're 12 minutes in, and already I've lost control. Anyway, so I thought I'd bring them on. Now, so just in case, who wants to describe it? Do you know, hang on, I'm going to let Lydia just Lydia, just chill for a little bit. Just sit quiet. You stay in the corner. Don't talk. Just face the wall. All right, Sib,
Mm.
how would you describe your podcast?
Our podcast, Ctrl Alt Cosplay, is a general conversation where we just follow where the conversation goes with people from and around the cosplay community. That includes costume makers, cosplayers, stall owners, photographers, you name it. As long as they're in the community, we want to talk to them.
Okay then. Lydia, would you like to concur with that?
Yeah, Sib summed it up perfectly. It's just 3 people talking.
Oh, so you're never going to have a fourth. You're just always going to have 3.
I think 4 would be too much. I don't know. I mean,
Mm.
I have to talk to Sib, but I feel like
Oh, trust me. No, trust me. I could jump in right now. Don't have 4. Don't have 5. Trust me. You're just asking for trouble.
I think it depends who it is. If like
No,
you come
no,
as a
trust me.
duo.
No, trust me. No, just you have to keep one of them. You have to keep either one of you step out, or just assume hell will break loose. As I said, so the reason why I bring up your podcast very early on, I just want to write to reply to your chosen quote you used for the podcast title. And if those who don't know, have a quick look now. Go on, specify now. Look up Control Cos.
I mean,
Found it.
you did say it. You did say it. Though.
I'm still talking here.
Oh, I like this new mean Eddie. I like him.
Okay, have you found the podcast? Good. The one I appear on is called I Like Naked People. Why?
It's called clickbait, Eddie.
Also, the picture you use. All right, I sent it to you.
Gave it to me.
I know, and the way you framed it with the words "I like naked picture." Talk about how to be cancelled.
It's all about that SEO, that clickbait.
Oh, if I take down another podcaster, that's all right. Yeah, sure, why not?
Hey, it's the most clicked on episode on YouTube.
No, because they're going to look at an Asian photographer and go, "Yeah, that sounds about right." Yeah, sure. Well, of course, he's a creepy photographer. Of course, that's what it is.
And then they'll listen.
Ladies
to the
and
podcast.
gentlemen of the podcast, I refer back to the point that you said it.
You did.
Within a context of a jokey conversation.
Well, I rest my case.
Fucking hell. Right, let's get on with the podcast. If anyone still hasn't cancelled me yet. Anyway, so I already know the answer to this, but I like it recorded at least on my podcast. Hey, Lydia, what's inspired you to start your own, podcast recordings?
I went on a podcast. Ed talks about podcasts. Sorry.
A highly reputable podcast, I might say.
Yeah, I went on a world famous, internationally renowned podcast to talk about MCM London and whether or not it's worth it. And it's something that I didn't realise I was that passionate about until Ed got me talking, and then I suddenly was like, right, these are all my things. And in talking about whether or not MCM was worth it, I fell down a rabbit hole of talking about Artist Alley and how much I love Artist Alley. And poor Eddie kept trying to be like, so MCM, and I was like, and another thing about Artist Alley is this. And then Eddie would be like, and about MCM, and I'd be like, and AIR and this thing, and so basically I finished the podcast with Eddie and I was like, man, I could have spoken for another 2 hours. Never mind whether or not people wanted to listen to me for another 2 hours, but I could have spoken for another 2 hours. And I thought, who will enable me? no. I thought, who would I want to sit and talk to for 2 hours? And I thought my friends, and then I thought Sib.
Hang on, I love that you thought of your friends
and
Sib.
No, I thought of my, who do I love spending time with and talking with, and it's my friends. And then I remembered that the first time I properly hung out with Sib, we sat in our car because it was COVID. So we sat 2 parked cars away from each other because it was COVID. And we must have sat for 2 hours just talking.
Oh, easily, yeah.
And I was sunburned on one side because we were sat in this bright sunshine. And I thought, if I can spend 2 hours talking about cats with Sib in a car park, she's the perfect person that I want to do a podcast with. And then I trapped her.
In your car.
We were driving to Manchester, which is 3 hours away. And I was like, Sib, you're in a locked car with me for 3 hours. Do you want to do a podcast with me? And she tried the doors and they were locked. And then she said yes.
I'm going to present you within this car a PowerPoint presentation, 100 slides.
Yeah, I mean, I was driving, so no, but
I'm going to just Sim's going, who's driving? Don't worry about that. Anyway, slide number 66.
you really want to stop at the services? Yeah, you want to talk about my podcast more first? No, so I basically thought me and Sib would be fun
Yeah.
together, and I asked her, and she said yes. And then
Oh, congratulations! When's the wedding?
I was gonna say that
she
sounded
was,
like a proposal.
ran with it. Honestly, like we were in that car ride to Manchester, and she was buying domains, and she was thinking of she came up with the title, and like everything, and she was making the art. Like honestly, I was just driving, and then we got there, and we somehow had a podcast. Like,
Well, no, you like I've made an account on Spotify. That's as far as I've thought, and I'm like, right.
Hang on. I love that you're surprised that Sid was like doing all of this. Like you're the one suggesting it to her.
listen. I'm the ideas man. Okay, I make the idea, and then I leave, and then somehow there's a podcast.
I admit,
And you're still go on.
for like a week after Lydia was like, let's do this, my brain went, let's think about nothing but. And I hyperfixated on it for so long. And I was like sending Lydia like swatches of like logo ideas. Like, what colours do you like? And she was like,
Honestly, it was amazing. It was like everyone needs a Sib in their life, is all I'm gonna say.
And this is why I keep trying to poach her.
No, bad.
Anyway, so besides what Lydia's just mentioned and what you just mentioned, Sib, what inspired you to go? Do you know what? Yeah, let's do this. Let's go for it.
well, I've wanted to do a podcast for ages, and I kept trying to convince Daniel, my other half, to do one with me, and he's like, nah, it's not really my thing. He's not really on social media, and we couldn't ever agree on a subject and stuff, and so it never became anything. And I just sort of watched other people have podcasts from the shadows, like one day, and then Lydia came in, and I was like, this is my time.
You were like,
Did
you got a storm coming, and I was
Yeah.
like, yay, podcast.
I mean, did you know what she was going to do to you in the car? That sounded rude. But anyway.
She was going to make me hold really hot hash browns.
I did do that.
The weirdest torture device ever. Seriously, oh god, I was going to say something quite off actually, but I'm going to leave that out. Oh Jesus Christ. Okay, so Sib, sticking with you. What is the attraction though of doing podcasting? What you mentioned you always want to do, but why? What is it about podcasting you think you in your head you go, yeah, that's what I want to do. This is it for me.
I think there's something lovely about setting down time and actually talking about a subject you're passionate about. Whether that's, I was going to say food, cosplay, films, but young adult books and things like that. And it's just nice to hear other people's stories, other people's opinions, and but also have a laugh and a joke, and without having to leave the house. Because I am in comfy clothes, I'm reclined on my office chair with my hands behind my head, having a chat. It's great.
You don't want to go into a car park, sit there for 2 hours, get sunburnt on one side.
I didn't get sunburnt.
Oh, good point. Very good point.
Record show.
Yeah. Unless you're talking about like Fairy Fest this year. Oh boy.
Oh, you got so sunburned.
Mm-hmm.
Oh jeez.
I was so blistered.
Do you know what I was saying to myself? I can't remember. Not that I'm trying to tempt fate. I'm going to touch wood here. I don't remember the last time I got sunburnt or got a nosebleed.
I've never had a nosebleed in my entire life.
Oh my god.
Never had a nosebleed.
Never.
October, let's make that happen, all right?
God.
I have been hit in the face with a tyre swing at full pelt because we were trying to put it in a tree as a kid, and nothing happened. The only time my nose is bled is when I got my nose pierced.
Hang on, do you actually have blood in you?
I maybe. Vampire origin story starts here.
Oh god, that sounds like a really bad fan fiction there. But let's not go there. Let's not go down there. Lydia, what's the attraction to you about podcasting? I know you said before that being on my one inspired you to do it because you didn't want to be put into a box. Not like I was trying to follow a format and like get through the questions, but yeah. So what is the attraction for you to do these podcasts?
I don't know. I just love it's a weird one because I'm such an introverted person and I'm super shy. But I just
What?
yeah, I know. No one ever believes me, but I am super introverted. I just love talking to people, and I love knowing about people's lives and how they got to where they've got to. And I also like talking about things I'm passionate about. So talking about stuff like Artist Alley, and the thing I love most about our podcast is that we're a cosplay photography community podcast, but of the ones we've recorded, I think only one of them has only really been focused on that element. So I just love the fact that we can sit and, like Sib says, we can just sit down. There's no pressure, and just get to know people. And okay, so a lot of our early guests have been people that we already know, but like, it's just I just find it really interesting, and also giving somebody that space to tell their story for an hour and talk about what they want to talk about. It just really interests me, and I never thought I'd do a podcast. It's never been something that I've not like thought about. But I just remember finishing that podcast with you being like, man, I wish I could have talked about this stuff, and I wish I could talk about it with different people. And I guess that's it. I don't know if I've answered that question, but yeah, I just
Wow, I'm getting flashbacks of a different podcast
I'm
here.
gonna be like, Sib, ask the question. That's why that's my go-to now. I'm like, Sib, make this work.
Put words in order. Unscramble the spaghetti.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like hearing about people's lives. And I'm a real sucker for just like, I don't know this person, but I need to know everything about them. Maybe I'm just nosy. That too.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from. I've always said this. Since doing the podcast, I feel like I get to know people a lot more than I ever do at a photo shoot. Because I don't know why. I think because I'm concentrating on the photography, not actually the person in itself. As getting to know, because I feel like, one, being a male photographer, I've also got to be very careful about not being that creepy photographer. Thank you for that wanted poster still. I'm just going to keep referring to that. But away from that, and people want to like go, yeah, I'd like to talk to Eddie about this on this subject on his podcast. It's like, oh, it's actually quite good to hear people's opinions and things like that. It's I exactly know what you mean by hearing people's stories, how their passion about, the life of cosplay, and how they got into it and things like that.
I think just because cosplay is what unites us all, right? We all like dressing up like a character. That's basically what it boils down to. But apart from that, we're all such different people with such different lives that it doesn't matter if you're like in the same fandom or you're doing the same cosplay or you're at the same level or whatever. You can come from a completely different world and background. And I just find that super interesting.
No, I totally get that. I totally get that. You've done a handful of podcasts now. I think you're on 5, episode 5 now. Mm-hmm. As we record this, but probably when this comes out, it's probably on 6 now. But how have you found the recording of these podcasts? Have you found it easy? Was it hard? Is it something that you thought, oh, this is a lot more involved than I thought, or is it something you've gone, yeah, this is piss out? I just realised. Sorry. Hey, Sib. When it's come to no, generally, who decided to say I'll do all the editing, or I'll do this, or is there a way like one person's doing? I'll find the guest, I'll find the subject, and you do the editing. How have you done that between you two?
So we both edited an episode, and I didn't mind it, but I really struggled. Whereas Sib has a knack. I don't know. Sib just has a knack for it, and said I don't mind editing. Yeah, and we jokingly said that like if we ever get monetized, Sib gets like 80% because she does all the work. But I like to think I do bring something. So I normally reach out to people. I know again we've used a lot of our friends, but now that we're getting actual guests, now that we're getting guests, I'm reaching out, and I like doing a lot of the prep work. But the rest of it's all Sib.
I mean, the editing as well. Like,
wait, I do the memes.
You do the memes. I'm just not good.
Oh god, I haven't seen my one yet. I haven't seen my one that's cut.
It was late because I do nothing.
It's me even messaging Lydia going, "It's Monday," and she's like, "Oh shit."
You do the threatening squat. The threatening squat.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, the editing
Christ.
wise, I ended up starting doing. There's also because I am self-employed, so I do have the time to kind of give it. With Lydia holds the 9 to 5, so and also is flying to Japan soon. So it's like, well, we're gonna have to sort it all out before you're not, we're
Yeah.
not on the same time zone and things like that. So
I mean, I have said that, if Sib is like, I can't,
Mm.
I'm too busy, I've got big shoots, I've got a wedding or something, then I'm happy to step in. But also, I think one person editing it gives it more of a voice, because obviously we'll edit differently.
Mm.
So I think one person having control of the edit means that it will be consistent. And I don't mind. I trust Sib that she's not gonna do some weird edit right, get cancelled because she stitched me together. So like,
oh god, no, I haven't even thought about that, to be honest.
just being like, I am a So yeah,
Don't worry. Apparently, I've just stitched myself up by saying I like naked people.
yeah, exactly. I know she wouldn't do that to. Well, she probably would do that to me, but
Oh, I would do that to you wholeheartedly.
I'm not going to say anything about naked people on this podcast.
You just did. What was I going to say? No, I'm very. I said when you're even after the first or second episode, I was like really impressed how slick it looks. I just with with the marketing that you do, the way it lays out, the logo and everything. I've been very impressed. I've gone. Oh my god! I wish I did that. Oh my god! I wish I did it. Oh god! I wish I did. Oh god! Oh god! What? Why do I feel like I'm already behind and then we've only got 5 seconds?
There are 2 of us, which obviously helps. So we have a soundboard and we can say like, oh, I really want to do this. Do you think this is a good idea? And who should we have as a guest? And like deciding to alternate between cosplayers and photographers came around because obviously I'm a cosplayer and Sib's a photographer. So having the 2 people to share ideas and some of the workload is quite helpful. And also I think just in our backgrounds, in that Sib's she's freelance, but also you did do film at school at school.
I did do it at school, yes, and university.
At school. And then my job, I'm very like corpo and marketing and all that kind of copy writing shit. So like we make a formidable team, I think, when we actually put our business brains on.
No, that's cool. No, no, like I said, very. It shows the skills you got in your actual main lives is affecting how you make these podcasts. Was it always going to be similar to me, like a cosplay podcast, or was it something that you either fell into, or was it something you wanted to do? You wanted to do something else, but you didn't feel confident doing. How did you also come with the format of the podcast? Please take your time. Don't.
If Sib wanted to answer.
Okay, Sib, can you answer that?
Well, no. When Lydia came to me about the podcast idea, she originally sort of outlined sort of like talking to people from the community, and we were, they're the people we know, they're the people we want to talk to. So it sort of started that way. Formatting, I'm not sure. We sat on a call at some point on either when we were working out how Zencaster worked, and sat with our spreadsheet trying to go right.
It was
What
our
do we do?
pilot.
Oh, the pilot.
Yeah, the pilot.
Oh, so not even a pilot. There's oh no! I only did one pilot, and that, again, like I suggested on their podcast, never let it see the light of day. Never, no, not even if someone goes drunk and oh, come on, let's listen to the pilot. No, never. Don't ever.
I think episode 1 was filmed after episode 3. Because the original episode 1, the pilot, was just not good. It was very awkward.
We did 2 with guests, and then we re-recorded the pilot. Then we kind of knew what we were doing, because the pilot is just the 2 of us as well, which makes it hard because then there isn't a guest who's our subject. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Adam Buxton podcast, and so he basically, I don't know if you know who Adam Buxton is, but he's a British writer and comedian, and he has a podcast where he basically just sits down with somebody for an hour and just talks about their life. And obviously he has people like Michael Palin and Richard Ayoade, and we don't have that. But I was like,
could you imagine? Jesus.
Yeah, but it's such a nice thing where like it always opens with him walking his dog or like doing something around the house, and then he just calls them up and they just have a conversation for an hour. and it's so interesting. So that, alongside, you know, wanting to be in the cosplay community, was another big inspiration. I was like, I want to do something like this. I don't want to do it by myself. But it was always going to be cosplay. It was always going to be photography, because that's one of my passions and it's what I devote a lot of my time to. And I remember you saying, you got to love what you're doing if you're going to make a podcast. And yeah, and that's
100%. I know I keep saying this, but I obviously didn't want to do. I initially didn't want to do a cosplay podcast. I wanted to do something with like a Q&A where we talk and debate, but I just didn't feel confident that I could pull that off on like a wider subject that I didn't really know about. And I felt if I did it on cosplay, I felt more confident that I knew what I was talking about, or drive the conversation to a certain way. Unless you got some like really wild guest that will not follow the format and let me drive the podcast.
I was
Lydia.
going to say,
And
very pointed there, Eddie.
who, me? No. I like that you've mentioned that the guests that you've had so far are mainly those who you know and you're quite close to. I was going to ask, were you like, have you tried to like venture out? Has it been easy to venture out and try to get guests that you don't know or you have very limited interaction with?
Yeah, so the last one we just recorded was with somebody that I have never met, I don't think. And I think, Sib, you've met them.
I've met them sort of in and amongst the con scene,
Yeah.
but
But
sort of by proxy.
yeah. But I was in a Discord with them and we were talking about photography in the male gaze, and how cosplay photography also falls under those same kind of pitfalls. And that's what they wrote their dissertation about. And I was like, that's so interesting. By the way, I have a podcast. Do you want to come on it? And they were like, yeah, sure, that sounds great. So I think that's been our first guest that neither of us know very well. But we're still getting comfy, right? So we want to start off with people that won't laugh at us if we like have a terrible time. But we are now kind of expanding out, and I don't think Sib will mind me saying, but we really want to do a Halloween episode. So I'm currently like looking through my spooky queens that like I follow or follow me, that I can be like, right, who wants to come on the podcast?
Oh, here's a controversial podcast I kind of want to record, but I don't want to record at the same time. It's basically, is Halloween costume like it's like a cheap version of cosplay, and is it looked down upon type of thing?
Ooh, I don't think it is, but I think you should get some spooky queens on for that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, because there are people who really love Halloween, but the argument is, would you use your cosplay for those costumes? And I think a lot of people would say no.
I mean, I have, but that's been for like a house party with people I know, where I know it's not going to get fucked up.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I've given suggestions like, oh, this would be fun to talk to this person about X, Y, and Z because this is what they're doing in their life. And
well, our next cosplay guest was your suggestion because of what's going on in their life and how it would make for an interesting podcast.
Yes,
so.
I need to message her actually. I will make a note.
Oh, it's a secrecy I don't get to know.
Because if she doesn't know, it's going to be really awkward.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a mutual thing of we have this like joint spreadsheet, and obviously me and Sib talk enough that we can be like, hey, we've got a wish list as well, so we can be like, who do we want? We need a photographer, we need a cosplayer. You've very kindly suggested people. And between
Don't make me like I'm a nice guy, all right? Don't say things like that.
We stole a list of people from Eddie.
Yeah, we just went through the archive of Ed Talks About and just said, right, he's had this person on and that person on.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and do it in the same order.
Oh my god.
That'd be some feat.
Honestly, if you do that, I'm going to go, this looks
How long will it take
familiar.
Eddie to notice?
To be fair, probably not. I'd probably go, oh, I've had those on my podcast. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, I haven't heard their voice in a while. Yeah, wait a minute. I'm running out of battery on my phone. It'd be really interesting. Like, I know you've only done a handful of episodes, but once you get to, shall we say, like you said, you're gonna do it like a year's worth, and maybe you might go through your guests again, type of thing, bring up different subjects. But it'd be really interesting when you reach a year, and if you ever listen back to your earlier podcast, you're gonna go, "Oh my god, how did we do it this way around? Why did we do it this way around? Oh my god!" Because I'm every so often I do flick back to some of my earlier stuff, and I go, "Oh my god, I was so stiff when I was recording those podcasts. I just can't." Lydia, you'd be amazed actually that this is actually more relaxed for me.
I think it'll be like, it's quite nice that we started with friends though, because it means that when we
Mm.
do look back in a year, it'll be a nice sort of like trip down memory lane with how much we've changed in that year and how much our friends have changed as well.
Mm.
But yeah, that's a long way away. But
It's one of the reasons
Mm.
I put. Well, I say we put
you
so
can say
much.
I.
Yeah. So work.
It's effectively your podcast. You do all
Yeah,
the
like
work.
to put work into the edit because I want it to start clean, and so there's instead of just throwing up unedited, it's there's the clip at the beginning, the music comes in, it fades out into the hello, and then the music always hits at the last sentence of, so you know that it's coming to the end of the podcast, and then you get the goodbyes, and then the music hits and quiets for the sneak peek. That is a constant, and I wanted that to be a solid format that would sort of start us on the ground right. So hopefully that can carry us through for a while.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
we did the
Well,
sneak peek. I know it's more work,
Same.
but I think it's one of my favorite things is having the sneak peek.
well, I was about to ask actually. As the next question is how so far is it going as well as you hope to be, or have you like already discovered? Oh, I've got to make all these
We
changes
had
now.
this
It's
really
the
rubbish guest on like
it's fine.
but apart from that, no.
Mother fucker.
Well, I didn't say I didn't name any names.
Sure. By any chance, Asian photographer being cancelled because he likes naked people?
Sorry, I came up with a joke rather than an answer.
Just realised also Nick, who does the quotes of the podcast, he's going to clip that. I know it. He's
Yes, Nick,
son
do
of
it.
a bitch.
I mean, you have said
No,
a lot
don't!
of times you like naked people. You have said this repeatedly. For somebody who says they don't like naked people,
I want the quotes just to be "I like naked people," but in different fonts. That's all it is.
I just
Oh god, he's going to do that.
himself.
Please.
I'm going to cancel myself. I might as well. God, keep going. Oh, geez. Anyway, we'll say the format of the podcast has it gone as well as you hoped, or has the workflow may have changed the format of the podcast? Has those changes already come in, or are you happy at how it's going at the moment?
It hasn't changed from episode 1 through 5 so far. I mean, I keep leaving it to the last minute, and then I'm sat there on a Friday going, I need to get this out for Patreon at 7, and it's like 5:30, and it takes almost an hour to export. But other than that, it's all been the same and everything like that. So nothing's changed too much. We've just got to make sure we've recorded one ahead for the sneak peek. So we always need to be one step ahead. But like I messaged Lydia the other day going, we need to record 3 before you leave the country, so we don't have to record while you're away.
I mean, we do have 2 potential guests, one in Japan and one in Korea. So we might record one.
Oh, that's true. We did talk about
while I'm out there, so that the timing is better for them.
Yeah, and I'll get up. Stupid o'clock.
But yeah, I need to reach out to the person in Korea and the person in Japan. And there's also somebody in Australia who I can reach out to. So that's a potential. But also, I don't want to make Sib get up at 2 a.m. and also I'm working. So we'll see. But even if we record that one and then we just keep it in the bank. We have learned a lot with each episode though. Like you've heard of our spreadsheet, but we
No, don't know anything about the spreadsheet.
So we have a spreadsheet, and every time we do an episode, we add more things, and things we check, and the questions we ask, and we're learning little things. So that I think behind the scenes is changing a lot, but the actual podcast isn't.
My
Yeah.
favourite note at the
No,
moment is on the important tab. It says, Sib, open Zen Encaster in Chrome. Because I always forget what browser it opens in.
I've just seen that.
Yeah. I had to put it there for a couple, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, because I was like, oh no, it's on Firefox. No, it's not on Firefox. Oh, it's on, no, it's not in Safari. It only works on Chrome. Don't ask me why. Max.
I work in IT, so I'm not going to go down that road. Lydia, so far the episodes you've done, well, and also probably recorded as well. What have you discovered about doing the podcast that you didn't think you didn't realize at the time when you thought, oh, all right, I'm going to do this podcast series?
I talk too much, and I have no idea how to phrase a question, and I have to just look at Sib and be like, Sib, please, I'm saying words, but they're not a question yet. So that's what I've realized.
I love it. This is your idea. You wanted to do this, so you didn't want to be put in a box. But as soon as it came with the spotlight on you, it's gone. Sib, save me!
I just don't want it to get to a point where Sib is the editor and I'm just the voice, because I don't want that to happen. But then also, I get too into the person I'm talking to, and I'm like, I need to ask all these questions because I'm so interested. So reminding myself to step back and be like, Sib can ask questions too.
I know. I was going to say you do quite well. Like, say you ask a question, your turn and things like that. It's like you got a nice balance going. So I feel like I'm critiquing your podcast. I'm not. I'm giving you encouragement.
No, it's fine. Yeah, like we do question prep beforehand, and we don't want to steer the conversation, but we'll have questions just in case. In case the conversation turns, or like we wrap up too quickly. So we do have like conversation points. But then because of the conversation nature of the podcast, if something comes up that me or Sib want to ask more about, we just do. And I think being friends for such a long time, that makes that easy. Even though we can't see each other, I think that works. I don't know. Maybe Sib's gonna be like, actually,
No,
I'm kicking off the podcast because she doesn't have any of the passwords. So
that is also true. I can give you the passwords. I just haven't.
The only password I remember is the one that's the bobble password.
That's still the same.
Okay, well then I will not say it.
Yeah, I haven't changed them. Jeez.
Jesus.
Okay, in that case, I do know the passwords. I am useful.
Oh dear God!
I think again with the having bullet points to sort of conversation nudges rather than we must talk about this. Is I find a lot of time people answer their own questions. Like the last one we recorded, I was like, oh, I need to ask a follow up about this, and then they did it anyway, and I was like, well, don't need to do that now.
Oh no! I mean, as much as I'm not breaking the 4-4 when I say this. Like, I have a very structured question list, and I'll let my guests know what I'm about to ask them. And I do say, oh, I might interject with other questions on the list, but they can see the question in front of them, and yet they will still answer that question earlier than I expected to. So then, and I'm going, oh, okay, so you've answered that already. Okay. I need now think of another question now just to pad it out. Okay. So yeah. For me, that's quite frustrating.
That's the opposite. That's what we want. We want someone to ramble.
No, that's fine. No, like I said, I've always said this. The one thing you don't want on a podcast is dead silence. When they just go, yes. And that's it, and you just think, "Oh God!" What? I hope I didn't worry any listeners. That think my audio equipment's just broken. But yeah, it's just you want someone who is bubbly and also chatty and willing to give such full answers, as I would say, and things like that. Like I said, the one thing to answer my question, I think I didn't realize how I was going to use this as a way to get to know people. I know I said that earlier, but I just got, oh wow. I'm really get to know this person. That's weird.
I was thinking about it when we were you were talking about that earlier. I think I've spoken to you more in podcast recordings than I have in real life. Which is mad when you think about it. You know, it's sort of in a
Oh yeah,
quote unquote professional setting of.
Because you've never come to Brum, Sib.
And true.
And then she's stuck with me, and I'm going, oh, why do I keep coming to Brum?
Yeah, hey, we have fun in Spoons.
No, that's a different Asian photographer.
I have fun in Spoons with somebody.
Wow.
It was you, actually.
Thanks. No, it was me.
I even offered to give you a lift home. See, I'm a good person.
Oh God, you're so crazy for doing that. So what was that day? I think was it the trains were up the
that
chute?
sounds familiar.
I can't remember. But you were going to drive someone up north, away from where I live, then come back down to London.
Just dox yourself.
Shh. They won't notice I edited that word out. Anyway. And then you go home, which is like, that's probably like going around the edge of the country like 3 times or something just to get people home. What? Why?
Because I don't like leaving people stranded. Like,
but it's so out of your way.
I don't know. I just don't like leaving people stranded. Having been that person, I'm just very, I don't know, aware.
Well, where were you on Monday when I needed to get a trip back to the UK
I was
from
in
Holland?
Brighton.
Oh God. So Sib, what about yourself? What have you discovered, that you didn't realise when doing these podcasts?
What, in general or about myself?
Either.
That I have zero chill when I'm passionate about a project, and I worry that I'm gonna drive Lydia off the wall by going, I've done this, I've posted that. Have you seen these stats?
I live for everything that you're doing. Like
here's some outtakes that are surprisingly 6 minutes long. And Lydia freaks out that I've sent her a voice note that's.
Yeah, I got a voice note. So we're in. Were we at the cafe? We're at like this cute little Sanrio cafe. And I got this message from Sib that was just a voice note, and I was like, "Oh my god, something's happened! What's happened? Something big's happened." If the fact that Sib's sending a voice note, and then I clicked on it, and the first thing was just the beep sound. I was like, "Oh, it's outtake." Panic averted. I'm gonna eat my burger shaped like a dog. Like it was such a
what a phrase.
Oh, the one thing I discovered on your podcast that I swear a lot. And I didn't realise how much I swear. Like, I don't mind hearing it on my own podcast and think, it's because it's my own podcast. But because I saw quite a bit on your podcast, and I don't think any of your other guests swears as much as I do, I'm like, oh God, I hope I've not really brought the podcast down like 10 levels, and then they need to build it back up.
We just mark it as not made for children. It's just easier.
I mean, we're not, and I mean, we've not really talked about anything that heavy yet, but that's not to say that we wouldn't. And I'd rather that like kids didn't listen to our podcast, because I don't think it's for them, just to protect them in the same way that it's protecting us. So no,
Lydia, it's not protect them from the subjects, it's protect them from
that
you.
They might get wild ideas.
Oh God! Anyway, let's move it along. Let's move it along my script, along my timeline. Lydia, behave.
Nothing.
Are you in a box yet? Do you feel still free now? I feel
very
keep
free.
Going? Good. I'll start with actually Sib on this one.
I feel less free.
What? Oh, perfect timing.
Sorry.
Just to let everyone, that wasn't even rehearsed. That's just Lydia, just on the button, just like, I've got this. Here's the joke coming. What are the hopes for your podcast series anyway? What are your aims? Are you doing this like myself? Are you doing it as long as you can, as far as you can, or is it? Do you have an end game ready for your podcast? Do you think this is how we're going to end everything?
Oh no, I will remember. English.
What an answer. It'd be really bad if you were doing a podcast, and you didn't have words.
The sad thing is, I don't edit this one, so I can't edit myself to sound smart. That's one thing I've learned, is I can make myself sound more coherent.
Yes. This is why I will not pass on my editing to anyone else, because I know how I'll edit this podcast.
my brain's completely fried. No, I don't have an end goal in mind. I kind of want to see how far we can run with it. I don't know. I had a dream the other night actually that we had a booth at MCM Comic Con in London, and I haven't told Lydia this yet. This is the first time she's hearing it, and we were so busy trying to work out at what point we could both leave to look round con. And then our friends were like, we'll stay here. I'm like, but you don't know how to work the card machine. Because we had merch. It was very strange. But it'll be free.
And there's me on the corner of the floor crying because I've had my podcast longer and I don't have a booth and no merchandise.
We don't have merchandise.
What are you selling then in your
I don't.
booth?
I think I vaguely remember stickers and lanyards and stuff, but I don't remember very much else.
That's called
No, but it's not
merchandise then.
real.
I know it's a rig. It's a dream,
I'd buy a lanyard with your face on it.
Aw.
but it's a dream. It hasn't.
Oh my god! Can we both make lanyards and give them to each other for each other's podcast?
Oh, yeah.
Can I get one?
I meant like you make one for food for Ed talks about.
Oh, I thought you meant I'd make one for you and Sib makes one for me.
Oh, well, we can do that too.
Oh no, I heard it as Sib makes one, Lydia makes one, you both swap, and
I was
sitting
going to
there
make one with Sib's face on, and then Sib would make one with my face on, and then we'd swap.
That would be cute.
And Eddie's there,
Yeah.
I guess.
crying in the corner.
He's on the reverse side.
Yeah. Just a sad Eddie face.
Crying, tears running down my cheeks. Now that I've finished crying, Lydia, what about yourself? What are your hopes for the podcast? Is it similar to Sib's,
My
or-
hope for the podcast is that Sib doesn't kill me. She doesn't enter a murderous rage after editing the 100th episode and just straight up murders me. No, I'm happy to go for as long as Sib is and as long as there's somebody for me to talk to. Because we're doing this, well, I don't know about Sib, but I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And so even if the only person listening to the podcast is me and Sib, I'd still do it. So
It's nice to know that other people
Yeah.
are listening to it.
yeah.
And also,
Oh, I genuinely am listening to it. I think one, it's just to hear someone else tackle the cosplay community as well. It's really interesting how they're going to be, how they're dealing with it. Secretly, might be thinking, "Oh, what if I can have them on my podcast?"
I'll put my people
Yeah,
instead of
it
your
is.
people.
Yeah. But I also feel like I shouldn't do that because I feel like, oh god, they're going to come up to one of you's going to go, excuse me, are you pinching our guests? And
I
went,
mean,
"No."
the cosplay community is only a
Yes.
certain size, right? Like, there's only so many people that are going to be willing to talk on podcasts, so we're going to have overlapping guests. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, we already have.
Oh yeah.
Surely.
Oh no one.
yeah.
What? What?
Well, Maddie,
Who?
Maddie's
I'm
been
gonna
on your
hunt this.
we've
Oh
both
right,
been
yeah,
on
yeah. I was gonna say
yours.
I was gonna hunt this person down.
We've both been on
What?
yours. Maddie's been on yours.
Yeah, you two don't count.
With the emergency backups.
Honestly, Anne, the amount of time Eddie messages me and is like, "Are you free for a podcast tomorrow?" And I'm like, sure. What's it about? I don't know yet. Sure.
You get 24 hours notice. It's like, in like 3 hours time, are you free? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Look, I've got such a busy
No, it's
life.
fine.
I can't keep up
Again,
with it.
the
At
joy of
times.
being
I know.
freelance. You just kind of go, yeah.
I wish. Jesus Christ. My immortal words were coming to the end of the podcast, and I've got a few more questions left. And I'll start with Lydia on this one. What advice would you give to anyone if they're either starting up a podcast or be involved as a podcast guest? Because you've done both now, and if you can do like an advice for both sides, that'd be great.
I think for starting a podcast, I think it echoes what you said. Pick something you love and do it with somebody you love, and someone you trust and someone that you know. Like I said, if at the end of the day the only people listening to the podcast is you, then that's fine as long as you're happy with it. Like, don't get into it for the wrong reasons. Don't get in it for money or for fame. Do it because you want to. And I think, see, this is what I mean about going off in a box. I think there's too much of a culture of like, I don't know what's it called, like this side hustle of everything has to be monetized. You got to be on that grind, that passive income. No, do something because you like doing it, and if you get income from it, sure. But not everything needs to be a job. Not every hobby needs to be monetized. So yeah, so from a podcast perspective, I would say, yeah, do it because you love it. Do it with people you love, and do it about something you love. And as a guest, I'd say, don't be nervous. I think it's really easy to get in your head and think that you're an idiot, and even if you are an idiot, it's fine. And again, I think it comes down to the same thing with doing photo shoots. Work with people you trust, and people who you admire. And if you are worried about being on a podcast, then just do prep, write some notes, and a good podcast will tell you in advance what you're going to talk about and send you questions or give you some kind of prep time. So you'll never go in blind, I don't think.
I feel very attacked because I don't think that's any things I do.
Yeah, you do. You like when you say like, oh, we're going to do a podcast on wigs or fast fashion or underwater photography or any of the other things I've been on. I've always had a few hours to be like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. I can have a little look, kind of thing.
Do you really want to be talking about wigs?
I mean, do you really want to be talking about wigs?
I'm happy to talk about wigs. Are you happy to talk about wigs?
I'm always happy to talk about wigs.
Do you wear wigs?
If you don't know what we're referring to, Lydia was on this very cursed podcast
I
with.
see nothing wrong with that episode.
It's great.
Oh, should I bring that up then? Should I bring it up the podcast audio?
Yeah, me and Colbert were completely sane, normal. This is what I mean, right? Even if you have the most insane time on a podcast and you feel like an idiot, I bet it's great listening.
It's probably the lowest rated episode, I think.
Wow.
So.
I mean, with good reason. It's terrible. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. You're probably the reason I'm hemorrhaging followers. Is the freaking wig.
Wow.
Thanks, I think.
I really want to know that. What is your most listened to episode?
Not you.
But it's not got out yet.
No, I think it was one with that miraculous ladybug.
Miraculous.
Well, those fans are feral.
They are, yeah.
Oh god, they are feral. Okay. Obviously, for obvious reason, it's episode 1. It was about MCM London during the pandemic. I think it was just like, this is the weekend that we would have gone to MCM London. Let's talk about it. So that was that one. And the next one is a miraculous ladybug.
Nice.
And then the next one, so that's episode 25. The next one after that is cosplays in latex. Can't imagine why.
I always forget that you didn't start your podcast that long ago. Because to me, I just feel like it's been around forever. It's such a
staple.
Yeah, it's such a, like, if I think of cosplay podcasts, I only think of Ed Talks About, and I think in my head I equate it to how long I've known you, but I've actually known you longer than your podcast, but...
Yes, you have known me longer than
yeah, but I guess I just, in my head, the podcast has just always been around.
Yeah. I wish I started it sooner. I really do. There's a lot of things I would have changed about my life, if I know what I know now then, and things like that. So yeah.
So that's life.
Yeah, it is exactly life.
That's life, baby.
Football is live. Cosplay is live. Podcast is live. If you don't understand Ted Lasso, you won't understand that reference. Anyway, Sib, what about yourself? What advice would you give from your point of view, besides not having Lydia as a podcast partner who does literally ditches all the work onto you?
Eddie, listen.
I'm talking here.
Sib does everything. I'm the face of the podcast. That's right. Of the audio podcast, I am the face. And Sib is everything else.
I mean, I don't know if you want to reply to that. I'm just gonna leave that open. But what would you give to any other potential podcasters or podcast guests if they get invited to either yourselves or my podcast or anyone else's podcast?
I'd say for aspiring podcasters, record more than you want As in, if you want an hour-long podcast, record more than an hour, because you will cut things out, and people will go, no, you can't put that in because of reasons. And do honor,
Like an NDA.
yeah. And you do have to honor when people say, please cut that out. You can, however, put it on Patreon as outtakes.
Please do not put this on a Patreon. I do not want to get fired.
No, unless it's something really serious. But yeah, if it's nothing too serious, then you can use it for that. But as a guest, just don't take yourself too seriously, I guess, and sort of just roll with whatever's being asked and just be honest. There'd be nothing worse than being invited back for an episode and then you have to try and remember what you lied about. So yeah, that's kind of it. Trying to think of different things that have already been covered. So
Yeah. Oh, hang on. That interlude music's coming in. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Well, now that we've come to the end of the podcast, I would like to ask each of you this question. What would you like to cosplay? Yeah. Can't believe I fucked that up. But what would you like to Ctrl Alt Cosplay out of the community?
Can I say
I think-
the Ed Talks About podcast?
You've been waiting for that,
No,
haven't you?
I'm joking.
Wait, Control All Cosplay, does that mean we have to cosplay it? Or like...
Oh, no, I can't. Is it Control? Do you take
We
Control
say delete, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, because I think your podcast is Control.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was
Ah.
that. I do listen, but I clearly misremembered.
It's fine. It's been 5 episodes.
It's not weekly, okay? I don't get it,
No.
and I just can't remember.
No, I'd explode if it was weekly.
Yeah, don't do it weekly. God, don't know why I did mine weekly. But anyway, oh yeah, that's it.
That's
I was
another
furloughed.
tip.
I had time. Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it weekly.
Don't do it weekly. Don't do a 2-hour episode. That'll just drive you up the wall. Anyway, what was I saying? Lydia, because I don't think anyone asked you this question, but Sib was. So, Lydia, what would you Control Alt Cosplay out of the community?
Control Alt Delete.
I know, but I'm going to call it Control Alt Cosplay.
Plug the name.
That's true. So technically, I have been asked this because I was asked in the secret pilot that's been completed. And then I asked Sib in the actual pilot, which is the one that went on, but I cannot remember what I said at all.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Lydia.
I can't remember what you said either.
Yeah, because you said, well, I won't spoil yours in case Eddie asks you next, but one thing I'd Control Alt Delete. Diet Coke.
Wow.
You have 2 very serious friends who are fans of Diet Coke.
No, excuse me, I'm not. I drink Diet Coke, but I prefer Pepsi Max.
Yeah, the whole point of the Control Alt Delete is that it's no questions asked.
It's true.
Absolutely.
Because the last one,
oh my god, I'm still
was
reeling.
wild. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Episode 6, the thing that gets deleted is no context.
Okay.
Wild.
Okay. You have to tell me off the podcast so that everyone else. Oh no! By the time this goes out, that would have gone out, I think. But we'll that. Anyway, Sib, you've already cancelled the Grey Wall, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to put another thing that you'd like to take out of the cosplay community. I don't know why Diet Coke was the thing out of the cosplay community, but okay. What would you Control cosplay out of the community?
Oh, arsehole security guards.
Oh, I can't imagine why.
No, just I like the people who just sort of give you a nod, give you a wave, have a nice conversation with you, and like I've heard some stories from some people where it's just like, bleh, get rid of them.
Just as a tidbit, like something I've observed about life, I think the most miserable people on Earth are not arsehole security people. It's actually people at the airport, those who like do passport control or things like that.
Yeah, oh my god.
Because every time you go past control, where are you going? Okay, have a nice day, and then move on.
I'd say the worse than that is people that work as GP receptionists.
Oh, they're so nosy though.
I used to work for the NHS, and every time we rang them, they all sounded about they were ready to jump in front of a bus. They just hated their jobs.
Oh my god.
I don't think I've ever had an issue with the NHS So I
Well,
can't really
it was
say.
the receptionist and I guess that they just deal with so many people.
Oh yeah.
They didn't need me ringing up being like, you haven't filled this form in properly. But then also fill the form in properly, Janet. Like,
Wow.
last time I flew to the US, when I went through security, the other end, the security man asked me which hotel I was staying in. And I was like, well, I'm staying in 2 because I'm at work and whatever. And then he was like, oh, what room are you staying in? And I was like,
no.
well, 1, I don't know because I haven't checked in yet. And 2, why do you need to know what room I'm staying in? That's super weird, my dude.
My dude.
I didn't say that to him. He's still... But yeah, it was still... It was a weird situation. And I'd just been on a long haul flight to the US, so I did not have the brain capacity to be like, this is inappropriate, sir. Anyway, that's my
Fair
airport
enough.
story.
Yeah, thank you for the airport story. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for your bit. I don't know.
Your
What do I-
deletion. Thank you for
Deletion.
bits.
Bits. I don't know. It's late at night. I'm still trying to sleep. What was I doing? Anyway, that is the end of the podcast. So thank you very much for being on the podcast. Talking about your podcast. Oh god, such an Inception type of phrasing that is. Welcome to British. Anyway,
What?
I don't know. Who would like to plug the Ctrl Alt Cos podcast between the two
Sib.
of you? Sib, right.
Without
Sib.
even.
I hate
Not
the
even-
outro. I hate the outro so much. It's so hard.
Anyway, Sib, what are your links to your personal photography page as well as your podcast?
So you can find me on Shill Photography on Instagram and most other social media platforms under Shill Photos. You can also find the podcast Ctrl Alt Cosplay on ctrlaltcosplay.co.uk/socials, or you can go /episode 1 or EP1 and start from there. But you can also find us on Spotify and YouTube. But everything's listed /socials.
Fantastic. Lydia, where can they find you on the social medias?
You can find me, Sarah Moon Designs, on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, and Tumblr. And you can
Are we allowed to talk about Threads now? Are we allowed to talk about Threads?
and you can find me at Broken Phone Girl on Twitter because I am not consistent.
That throws me off every time.
I'm sorry, but I refuse to change my username because it was a fun story that then turned sad. But
fair.
And we will not talk about that on the podcast.
I don't think I've ever talked about it on the podcast. So
You can.
No,
We
you
will
have-
talk about it on ours.
No. You have told me this story, and we've got let's never record that bit. No, because I thought, it's a funny story. Let's get that recorded. Oh no,
yeah,
no,
it's
no,
funny
no,
that
no,
turns sad. So tune into Control Alt Cos for problematic YouTube time.
If people need to find me on the social media for some strange reason, you can find me on if you go to foodandcosplay.org/links. That's where you find all my social media links, including Threads. Threads. If you go to foodandcosplay.org/podcast, you'll find previous recorded podcasts with these two and other podcasts I've recorded with them separately and other subjects. Yada yada yada. If you go to foodandcosplay.org generally, you'll find daily cosplay photos I've taken. I was going to say around the world. Does it?
I mean,
Yeah.
you've taken them abroad.
All right. There.
Eddie, have you seen that trend recently where you type in your username on Google Images and then you share what comes up?
I'm sure I did that.
So
I'm the one that started.
Your website shows up so many times, but all the times I've seen people do it,
Same.
a lot of it is your website that comes up on Google Images.
Nice. Yeah. Where was I up to? That's all right. If you go to patreon.com/foodandcosplay, you can find you can donate £2 and also listen to the podcast section which I'm about to record with these two. I haven't actually thought of anything yet, but I'm sure we'll find some. I think we're just gonna chat. Let's see what things will pop out. This is gonna sound weird. Pop out of Lydia's mouth and
Or like that.
I know, like that. And on that note, I'm going to hopefully hear you guys I hope you listen to that podcast. But otherwise, if not, we're going to say goodbye. So I'm going to say goodbye and they're going to say goodbye. So bye, guys!
Bye.
I really need those size 4 shoes.
You don't have size 4 feet.
You know what they say about a man with size 4 shoes?
Size
He
4
stole
feet.
them from a child.
Oh, that's the outro. Definitely watch.
No more words
Okay.
needed.
No more words.